For the past 3 years, Mary Jane O'Laughlin, a Washingtonian, has supported elephant conservation efforts in Kenya's Amboseli National Park. In 2008, she went on her first safari to see what she calls God's creation on the other side of the world and fell in love with the country and the people's hospitality. She says her first encounter with elephants was exceptional. She joins me in the studio with more on her advocacy for elephant conservation. Mary Jane, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much, Esther. It's wonderful to be with you.
Now, first of all, take us back to your first trip to Kenya and the moment that you saw the elephants. What struck you most?
What struck me the most was the instant realization that I was surrounded by something so magnificent and beautiful. Excuse me, and wonderful, and just in those few moments that the love that they were created with, and imagination and the beauty, and why on earth would anyone want to hurt them? It was really the first thought that came to my mind, because there was so much joy, there's so much intelligence, and their community and their interaction with one another. And I had a brilliant guide who explained to me what their movements were, what their ears were, what the sounds that they made. And I was completely captivated and overwhelmed, in the best sense of the word.
And if I remember correctly, in 2008, Kenya was experiencing a political upheaval. There was a lot of violence, and tourists weren't even going to Kenya.
Yes.
But, you know, looking at your now love for the elephant, how has your work then impacted the elephant conservation at that particular Amboseli National Park?
Well, what I hope has happened is that through, of course, telling everyone they need to go and have the experience for themselves, I was inspired to write a book a year later that I started working on, which is about a baby elephant who lives in Amboseli. And so the book itself became an effort to draw people in and entice them to go. And that grew into really finding others who cared about elephant conservation, and that included the first International March for Elephants and Rhinos in 2013. And from that point on, I had made a decision that I wanted to donate a portion of my book sales to the trust so that more people would know who they are. And I honestly can't give you the impact. I just keep doing this one day at a time, 1 year at a time.
I'm curious to know, have you been back and do you follow to see where your money is going?
Yes, I'm very interested in that. I actually visited the Amboseli Trust research project in 2013, which helped solidify my decision to do this. And so I was able to see where they live and what they do. And the money that goes directly towards traveling around the park and monitoring the elephants, equipment that they need, tires for the Jeeps, whatever is necessary. It's not a very famous, I don't know famous, but it's just an organization that I wanted to put more emphasis on. I wanted more people to know about.
Now, if you look at what's been going on lately, we've seen a lot of elephants killed, you know, for their tasks. We've also seen rhinos die, being relocated, especially in Kenya, very sad. But what is the future of the elephant conservation in Kenya and in Africa in general when you talk to some of the people you connect with to raise funds for these animals?
I'm extremely hopeful about it, Esther, honestly. Actually, right now as we speak, there's a gentleman named Jim Justice Nyamu who is walking from Kenya to South Africa. And he's raising awareness in communities and inspiring communities to get their own projects started, because it is there's so much of an in-country effect that's very, very important. There's a sanctuary in northern Kenya, the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary, that the Samburu are actually running themselves, and it's modeled after the very successful Sheldrick Trust in Nairobi that was begun by the late Daphne Sheldrick. So not just that on such a large scale, but a small scale, people I know, individuals who are doing their own part. I have a friend who goes to Kenya every year and brings back jewelry and beads and sells them here, takes the money and brings them back to a tribe, a village rather, that's in a rather off-the-road part of Savo.
Now, you mentioned a lot of people from elsewhere and some people who settled in Kenya from the Western world. Are locals really involved in conserving this national treasure?
It sounds to me like it's going in that direction. And that is why I have hope for it, because you're right. It has to be from that point of view. But I do. I really do.
And you hope for the best for the future. We'll keep
Yes.
track on what's going on
Yes.
with elephant
Yes.
conservation in Kenya and elsewhere in Africa. Mary Jane, thank you so much.
You are so
for
welcome.
coming on Africa 54.
You're so welcome.
Mary Jane O'Laughlin is an advocate for elephant conservation.